greatest raid you'll see! The gods will reward us!
The time of empires is at an end. Karl Franz will bow before us!
It's 40 guilders on the drum, to those who volunteer to come, to list and fight the foe today, over the hills and far away. Though lords and ladies come and go, a soldier's life is all I know. Karl Franz commands and we obey, over the hills and far away.
It's raining, and cold. So cold. Huddling close to your blanket, and shielding your face from the pouring rain with your battered kettle helm, you look up to the dark grey sky above, before you glance around the trench in which you sit, knees curled up. The trench itself is situated in a forest, with sparse trees and mossy growth. It is dug from mud and reinforced with bricks and corpses. Its purpose is to cover you from the sight of chaos sorcerers and druids casting their curses. You are not alone, but you do not feel comfort at that either. Since you volunteered to bolster the remaining coastal armies, you have been amongst morose strangers. Most are volunteer Nordlanders like yourself, whom, like yourself, have been ill-equipped and untrained. But there are others. Sellswords from afar, here for the promise of coin or easy loot. The axe at your hip and the shield on your back is, like your kettle helm, taken from the corpse of a sellsword. It's been 6 days now since you joined, and for 6 days you have been stationed in the closest trench facing the Norscan army, surrounding the nearby city of Dieterschafen, only 3 miles away. In this time, you have felt like sheep awaiting slaughter. By day, aside from the occasional harrying of Norscan raiders in the forest, you hear their monstrous behemoths and their enchanted siege engines batter the walls. Even now, you can hear them distantly, blotting out the sounds of despair from the besieged city. But by night, you have been victim to hear the sounds of heathen rituals and perverse chants mingled with alien roars and war cries of a forbidden doggerel, all intertwined with the sounds of captured prisoners tormented and sacrificed to their gods in depraved ways. And now, you have discovered that sleep is not the only death. 3 nights ago, the food in every trench larder was cursed to rot into mush by sorcery, now leaving you facing the Northmen starving as well as sleepless. To your right, where the trench curves away, your comrades appear to be stumbling upright to attention in response to heavy footsteps. Although your body aches from fatigue, using a nearby shovel you follow suit. But the Knight Captain comes, flanked by his lieutenants. Drunk with exhaustion, your commander's presence does little to boost your morale. Knight Captain Stobert, a tall, arrogant, and short-tempered Nordlander, clad in plate, and a war veteran, who resents you all, as do his lieutenants. Ashamed in their positions to be leading such a sorry bunch and call you soldiers of the Empire. With one hand on his sheathed sword, and the other clenching a crumpled letter as he marches back and forth your part of the trench, scowling.
Attention! Oh, come on, quickly, double time! Stand straight, you louts! At least pretend to behave like warriors of the Empire! Gods. Right, in my hand, I have a report confirming the Baron's army will arrive this Abendtag. That's 2 days away. Now, before you start whooping like drunken hags, need I remind you, we haven't got food to get us through those next 2 days. And what's more, we have new orders, so time to wake up! Should Dirterschaffen's walls be breached, we are to form rank and charge head-on to assault their flank. But, looking at your gormless faces, you lot couldn't charge against a mild breeze. So until then, I am sending some of you slack-jawed dolts to go over the top and scavenge for food on our fallen. I'm sure I've been blessed with thieves and brigands in my ranks, so looting the dead will be bleeding ecstasy for some of you. You,
Aye, Knight Captain.
you,
Captain.
and... Oi, oi! With the kettle helmet. Yes, you, donkey. Sorry, am I interrupting your little snooze, huh? Maybe you forgot we're still at war! Well, maybe a nice little stroll up top ought to wake you up and remind you why you're here. Alright then, you three it is for now. Remember, keep your head low. They may be focused on breaking the city, but they'll sure have some scouts. Well, what are you bleeding waiting for? Move it! Out! Now! Now! Come on! 1, 2, 1, 2! That's it, donkeys! And don't come back without some grub! All of you! Or you'll all be thrown in gibbets and fed to crows! I'll throw you in them myself!
You clamber out the muddy trench and onto the ruined forest land that separates you between the Norskins. Though it is foggy, you can tell that you walk upon a battlefield, as you see corpses and fell banners from many battles litter this ground. Through the distance, you can vaguely hear the Norskin army by the coast, hammering the walls of Dieterschaffen relentlessly. Despite you have cover from the fog, trees, and mantlets, fear of prowling berserkers and wandering chaos sorcerers is enough to keep your wits about you and crouch low as you scout the dead for food. Closest to you is the woman, a Nordlander like yourself, and she is donned in uniform looted from several corpses. She is young, and her soft face weathered with grime, covered by her matted brown hair. The man next to her, of a similar age to the woman, a short, scrawny fellow with wide, startled eyes. His unkempt bowl cut makes him swish and flick his hair from his eyes frequently, the pistol he carries shaking in his hand as his eyes dart hither and thither. The deathly quiet of the battlefield keeps you all on alert, until, after half an hour passes, your senses grow accustomed to it. Well, most of you do.
Oh, bloody hell. Why'd he pick me? I ain't a soldier. I'm a clerk. This is my first day. And here I am, scouting for scraps, while also being bloody target practice for crazy wizards.
First day. Joined Stobart back in Hagendorf 2 weeks back. When it fell, he made us march non-stop to here. Flogged the stragglers. Then we dug our trench for 2 days without stop. Fending off Norskin raiding parties almost every hour. I can't remember when I last slept more than 3 hours. So just when you think it can't get any worse, it can.
Oh, bloody hell. What did I get myself into? I should have done a runner when Stobart's lads came looking for volunteers. And I'll tell you how he treats us is an assault to imperial citizen rights. We should at least be getting paid to handle all this.
How patriotic, truly.
Oh, come on. You both heard him back there. That bloke's a bloody brute. How do you put up with that?
I'm just following orders so we can win. And I suggest you do that too, clerk. Or you might be taking your next orders from a Norskin.
The name is Adolf, and I ain't gonna be no slave, 'cause I'll be long gone. Maybe Tilia. Got an arm there.
You speak of desertion?
It's bloody smart, that's what it is. Besides, all I'm saying is that maybe next time Stobart can tell us to search for scraps without threatening to turn us into bird food. Why is he always behaving like he got an axe up the bum anyway? Hey, you. Yeah, silent one. No wise like that?
Oh, well said. I'll say it's more plausible than his mother was clearly an elf, I heard someone say. But then again, the one that told me was
A loaf of bread! Shh! But look here. Not just one loaf, but two. Oh, and some salted pork. It's from one of ours and all. Ah, well, I'll just make my way back to the good captain. Oh, what's this? Oh, look here. This fella's got some golden trinkets too in here. Maybe I'll get myself a nice juicy reward, huh?
2 loaves of malty bread and a slice of meat for the whole regiment will reward you with a nice juicy flogging. I think we should go northward. I think I see a dense forest less than a mile ahead. Looks like a ruined camp within. We can surely find some food there and see the city closer up.
What? You mean you want to get closer to Dieterscharfen with the, I don't know, 30,000 plus band of loonies running about the place?
Unlike you, clerk, some of us chose to be here and are willing to take the risks. I'm willing to die for the Empire. Hell, most my family already has. I don't know about you two, but I'd like to see for myself if Dieterscharfen can hold for another 2 days.
Oh, I hate this. I hate all of this. Fine. But find us keepers and any loot. I've only been around for a day, but I already know some people about the trench who could pay good coin for some of the stuff round here.
Hey, name's Helga, by the way. What's yours? Well met. How long have you been with the Imperial Army? 6 days? You know, I took you for a soldier or a sellsword, being the silent type and all. My husband is a bit like you in that regard, but he's a proper soldier. A Nordlander Marine. Much better than a sword than I'll ever be. Though with a distaff, he would find me fierce competition. I really hope those walls stand for 2 more days. Gods be good. How wonderful it would be to see my Eric again.
Oh, shiny. I think I'll be taking this from you, mister.
And I hope he has braver men by his side than we do.
You and Helga peep northwards from behind the mantlet, with Halduf crawling behind, ogling and pocketing valuables from the dead. Looking onward, you pale to see littering the landscape beyond, the remains of blood-raven sacrifices, burnt pyres, wickermans, and gallows-dangling disemboweled people, behind which the great Norscan army appeared to be focused on the city walls. Then, so loud do they suddenly cheer, that you can feel the ground beneath you shake. You squint your eyes and turn to ask Helga what she thinks is happening, but she is not beside you. Helga is now standing fully upright, out of cover, walking away from the mantlet, staring at the great army in stunned disbelief. Both you and Halduf beckon for her to return, but she does not heed you. Instead, hefting her round shield and short sword, she walks slowly toward the horde, her eyes fixed on something only she can see.
What does she think she's doing? Get back down, woman, or someone will see us! Wait, where are you going? Where is she going?
The dogs. It cannot be.
Oh, bugger this.
Not again.
If she's gone balmy, then we might as well leg it back to base. What are you looking at me like that for? We got some grub and some sweet coin. We'll just say a wizard hexter or something like that.
Get wood.
Oh, bugger this! There's 4 of them! I'm off!
Look, the warriors of Sigmar. Cowards, weaklings, and women. So many skulls for the hound we shall collect this day.
Your mind is racing and your heart is pounding as the ambushes close around you, grinning like wolves about sheep. Halduf pleads to retreat back to Stobart, and you can see the way back is clear of danger. But you can also see Helga, the stalwart, several feet away, fending off 2 leering, savage Norskins, who circle around her, relishing in her panic and meek defense. What will you do, Nordlander?
for this, crying out loud?
Brother, when was the last time you had a good hunt for a hare?
Too long! Too long!
No time like the present. We got this.
Come here, little hare. Don't be shy. My axe wants to say hello.
The howling Norscan clutches his battle axe in both hands as he bolts to catch up with Hodolf, who has already begun a sprint into the obscuring woods until he is no longer seen, the Norscan more than happy to give chase. The other Norscan, the one who taunted you in his broken Reichspiel, faces you with a smug smile. He is naked save a loin cloth, some leather straps and fur boots, and in his hand he too carries a deadly battle axe. He, like the other ambushers, have wild hair and long beards dyed a deep crimson. 20 feet behind him, you glimpse Helga has already been slammed to the ground after the two Norscans grew bored of their leering and have decided to test her mettle. The Norscan before you swings his axe to slash your neck, and you stagger back. Before you can do anything else, you block another heavy blow that would have split your head in two. He lunges again, assaulting you with a barrage of heavy, savage blows, until he recoils for an overhead swing. You duck and scamper sideways, but he kicks you heavily on the hip, and you stagger off balance. No time to tarry. You get up and charge towards him, going for a sideways swing, but he stands back and, reversing his weapon, butts you on your kettle helm. Staggering drunkenly, your head ringing, you sway and fall to one knee and look about you. A forest to your left and a dead, muddy landscape to your right. Bodies of the fallen lay strewn before you, and a screaming city at the coast being breached by the heathens. Time slows, and see the two Norscans taking turns in trying to shatter Helga's round shield, as she lays there, sideways on the ground, her knees curled up and sobbing uncontrollably, as each Norscan takes an even heavier swing than the last in smashing her shield, relishing in her anguish, mocking her in their native tongue. Though your face is blank, in your mind, a hatred begins to boil, and the Norscan who you'd been fighting stares down at you with a smug smile spreading across his face. He is clearly relaxed, and enjoying what he sees below. The Norscan flinches and turns around for a moment, growling at the noise. That's all you need, Nordlander. With a surge of energy, you grip your axe and swing it savagely at his groin. His eyes are wide in agony. You waste no time. You sidestep and cut his arm, holding the battle axe at the elbow. He is kneeling now, and you are standing. You swing hard on his skull. Once, twice, thrice. You yank it out and adjust your kettle helmet to see the other two Norscans glancing back at you dumbly, not understanding what they've just seen, that before them, you, Nordlander, in your tartan cloak, leather armor, battered helm and a bloodied axe, stand triumphant and defiant over the body of their Norscan companion. It clicks, and as you are removing your metal shield from your back, one of the Norscans begins a wild, heavy charge, his axe held high. Take a breath, Nordlander. For within 10 feet of the Norscan's charge, you throw your axe, and it whistles towards him. He blocks it, but it was a move he was not expecting, and he loses his momentum and his balance, slipping on the mud and dropping his axe. Quickly walking up to him, and with your shield now donned, you see him scramble for his axe, and then look up at you from wide eyes. You heave and smash the shield on his head. 5 times is enough to make his head a pile of mince. After picking up your axe, you scream a roar in challenge and bat the axe to your shield twice, and the final Norscan looks back at you from bloodthirsty eyes, which glint acceptance to your challenge. He leaps towards you, unleashing a fury of blows. You block and give only a few swings back in return, but the warrior's fury was up at the death of his companions. Your hatred begins to waver as you feel the man's rage begin to border into berserk. His speed and ferocity only increases. You cannot help but kneel once more at his pummeling strikes, blocking with your shield, becoming slightly more dented after each block. A scream from a charging Helga is lost on the Norscan, his mind focused on killing you. It's not until Helga's third stab in his back that he stops to see his belly bleeding, and you, not waiting for chance, slash with your axe. You and Helga both begin a frenzy of murder, screaming like animals as you slice and dice what was once a man, but is now a collection of meat. And then, the land is quiet once more, save for the distant low-rolling sounds of Dieterschaffen and the pouring rain and thunder. Out of exhaustion, you sway and then clumsily hug each other for support, before falling both to your knees and resting. The adrenaline of the past few moments draining away.
The city's lost. It's over. They have the walls. I saw them.
A rumbling sound from the city catches your attention, and watch as the Norskins pull down the banner of Nordland and colours of the Emperor from the eastern wall, the breach. The bodies of the defenders, their armour glinting in the dull light, being thrown into the mass of degenerate tribes of Chaos Horde below, and the eastern gates are pulled down, causing another humongous cheer.
I thought we could win at least once since the invasion. By Verena, just once! Come on, let's go. Stobert's probably begun the charge already.
As soon as you both get up, you find yourself falling back down from utter exhaustion. Sleepless and hungry, you resolve to ease at least one of your problems by eating some of the food found during your scavenge. Between the two of you, you have luckily found a large sum of fresh, preserved food and drink. You promise to each other that you'll find some more on the way back to make up for the loss. Almost retching a little from not eating so much in so long, you begin to feel calm and clear-headed. Now one of your problems have gone, but the other will have to wait, lest Stobart find you sleeping. The man would make an example of you before the battle, no mistake. Of that Helga could swear. This time, as you get up, the fatigue is a lot less than it had been a half hour ago, and you begin walking your way back to Stobart, but not before you notice, after less than a minute of walking, a body that piques your curiosity. Helga is watching you, puzzled, as you walk towards a dense thicket of trees, where a body lays recumbent. The Norskan that had been let loose to chase Hadolf lies face flat in the dirt with the back of his head a shattered mess from a gunshot.
What is it? What have you found? A dead raider. Oh? I just didn't think... Wait, you think Hadolf really shot him? Never exactly radiated courage, that one. Could have been those Talayan sharpshooters on Stobart's payroll? We will see. You know, I thought if anyone could hold these savages back, it'd be Eric and his Marines in Dieterschaffen. He used to show me some tricks and moves when he'd returned from his campaigns beyond the Empire. But what was it all for? Pfft, who am I joking? You saw me. I couldn't move. I couldn't fight back, I was scared. The way they toyed with me before making me cower in the dirt, the way they hated me. I was so... I couldn't... If it hadn't been for you, At the end of the day, I am a patriot. But I am not a soldier. I'm just frightened and want my life back. Eric was my last hope for returning to a cinder of that life. Now all I have are memories. But you never know. Maybe when we charge, the tides of fate will have changed. What about you, What keeps you going? Why didn't you flee like Hadolf did? That's a good enough answer for me. You know, when this is over, Did you hear that? The trench! Come on!
You speed your way back to the trench. You are both halfway between two trees when a figure emerges from the fog ahead. A Norskan, clad in fur, his long hair and braided beard a pale gold, and he is staggering towards you, sword held high, and his orange round shield drooping. 6 meters from you, he drops to his knees, and blood dribbles from his mouth before he hits the ground, where a hand axe sticks embedded in his skull. Flushing out forth from the fog ahead, you see fleeing men running, and hear sword clangs and gunshots. Norskins, all golden-haired, wounded and on the run, your comrades giving a loose chase. A routing Norskan druid turns around and raises his staff. ready to summon the winds of magic for a spell, and both you and Helga back away to hide. But on his heels are the Tyrian riflemen, who shoot him. Even as he's downed, they walk over to him and shoot his body, making sure the sorcerer is dead. A bald, beardless Norscan with heavy armor, a vicious-looking flail, and an eye missing charges towards you. You and Helga get your shields up, ready for the impact. But the armored form of Stobich comes leaping from behind and tackles the big man to the ground. Stobich initiates a ground and pound until the man's face is a blubbering mess, before reaching behind, grabbing a loaded pistol and shoving it down the Norscan's throat.
Eat it! Well, look who came back from their little stroll. You actually get anything edible?
Yes, sir. But I must report
Well,
that...
what are you waiting for? Give what you found to your lieutenants, and get back into line, now! Right. Sergeant Holt, inspect casualties. Send a message to the officers. We march until we reach sight of the city. Any stragglers, get the whip. I'll have no ditherers. All right, form up, men. Form up. I said form up! Come on, donkeys! You can sleep about when we win back our country. Pikemen, form front line. Captain Malero, get you and your Astalians beside the pikemen. Suppressive fire on my orders.
We are Tilaean.
Shut your mouth! Everyone, keep moving forward. No time to rest. When we reach sight of Dirterschaffen, we'll assemble ranks and make a charge. We'll catch them off balance. Sergeant Wainwright, get those mortars and batteries out. I want that dwarf checking them on the double.
The entire brigade is moving northward now, at a steady pace, and the food you've brought, though not a great amount, is enough to garner thanks and commends from even the officers. Walking along with your platoon, spearmen and infantry, you remember the state of Dieterschafen. There had been at least 3,000 Norskins besieging the city, possibly more. You are part of the 4th Imperial Coastal Defense Battalion, a total force of 1,000. The rest of the Coastal Defense Brigade, to your knowledge, are in the 2 trenches behind, each one 2 miles apart from the other. You recall on your march to join the brigade that it numbers 3,000 strong. Lieutenant Schmidt, your officer, is a big man in his 20s, bald, and with a twirled mustache and an axe wound on his temple. As you approach, handing the satchels of food you'd collected, he looks at you up and down.
At ease. Aye, you're one of us. A Nordlander. But this armor and weaponry is custom. Sellsword or volunteer? You brought quite a lot for our boys. Very good work, soldier. I hope it wasn't too difficult a task. Encounter any resistance? They sound like Aeselings. They serve a brutal god of war they call Carneth. Aye, they're tough nuts. Either Ranald favors you, or you've done this sort of bloody work before, perhaps? Aye, well, 3,000 Norskins stand between us and the city. They're like animals. They can follow only one scent at a time. Their backs will be turned to us, and that's how we'll strike.
Schmidt begins looking about. All around you are loose ranks of soldiers, still walking at a lazy pace through the forest. But something is wrong. There are concerning shouts coming from further along the ranks. Questions are thrown, and the officers order them to quiet down and keep marching, or simply to shut up. But that only increases concern. Panic is beginning to brew in the company, and though you know not what has stirred this, you somewhat feel a rising panic of uncertainty too. The rumors become clearer, and now you wish you weren't hearing them. Word is that the 3rd and 2nd trench have disappeared. 2,000 men, gone. How exactly is a matter of speculation. Some claim sorcery, others cry out desertion and mutiny, and others whisper of a 2nd Norskin army. The officers dismiss the questions and cry out for order and to keep moving, and though you continue marching, the seed of doubt has been planted. You remain in your position, in the 3rd column behind the spearmen, led by Lieutenant Schmidt. Coming towards the end of the forest, the columns grow quiet all of a sudden, as Dieterschafen becomes visible to you once more. A black shadow surrounded by a muddy coastal plain and beneath dark, low clouds.
Company, hold here!
The air is swollen with a deathly silence as you look beyond at the city, a horrid twisting feeling in your gut. The gates of the city are open, where out of it come pouring thousands of savage men, clad in furs and metal, roaring and chanting. You can see less than a handful of trolls, giants and mammoths, also dotted within their crowded ranks. In the front lines, some of their bannermen hold flayed or mutilated victims from the city, still screaming or wailing. And they are all facing you, waiting expectantly, roaring in defiance towards you all, who stand silent as the grave. A man next to you retches.
This death trap. We're done here.
What do you mean by that? You're scared to get cut? It's your job to fight! By Varena, that's what I bleedin' pay you for!
Aye, we are paid to fight for coin. But take a look out there, Knight Captain. I don't intend on heading to Mort's Garden anytime soon. Ce ne stiamo andando!
Get back here! You dogs! You cowards!
Your nerves go electric as you see some of the other sellswords also fleeing. The mere prospect of fighting such a force, and winning seemingly impossible to them now. And they are not alone. Even a few of the Nordlanders have begun to rout. No one stops them.
All of you with a gut and spine, stand ready! This changes nothing! Do not listen to the lies of cowards! There is no second army of Northmen behind us, and the rear battalions are perfectly safe. We've come this far by Myrmidia. We'll throw those savages out back into the sea. We have a plan, faith, and imperial steel. These dogs out there have nothing that we cannot overcome. We have come this far, and I swear to you this. When the moons rise tonight, I promise you, Dirterschaffen will be ours. Nordland will be ours. Victory will be ours.
Most are gathering into position, ready for the great push. Others retch or cry, and a furtive few make a break for it deeper into the forest, their patriotism at an end. The man who'd retched beside has fled. Despite Stobert's rally, the entire brigade is teetering on a razor's edge between fight or flight. You are part of a brigade 3,000 strong, but if the rumors are true, only your part of the brigade remains. Can it be enough to make a difference? You look down to yourself, muddy, bloody, and ready for combat. You killed 2 Eslings this day. But can you face an army? Is this worth your blood, sweat, tears, and toil? Time is running out. Make a choice, Nordlander.
Hear that, men? They're laughing at us. Can't you hear them?
By Ulrich they are. Just like Hagendorf.
At Hagendorf we ran, and they tied the survivors to crosses outside the walls, flaying them alive. They laughed then too. We will not run this eve. Men of the Empire! You hear them? They're laughing at us! How about we go over there and give them a real jest? At the sound of the horn, we charge, head on! No mercy, no glory. Only victory or death! Cannons on their lines and giants. Spears on the mammoths. Cavalry, shake them up. Everyone else, no mercy on whomever comes your way. Fight! Fight for Nordland. Fight for France. Fight for the gods. Fight for bleeding Bretonia for all I care. Just come with me and fight! Now sound the horn! With me now! With me!
You charge head-on towards the enemy. You make way for loose squadrons of lance riders on horseback, whose steeds gallop hard and fast towards the enemy to shock their front lines. The banner of Nordland held high by the head rider. No longer do the Norskins taunt and cheer. Throwing aside their victims from the city, you see them frantically making a shoddy shield wall to protect against the oncoming charge. You are starved and tired, but you are angry. Your blood is up and vengeance is on your mind. What are you fighting for, Nordlander? Whatever it is, it only powers your muscles and focuses your mind. Sprinting madly towards the enemy along with your comrades, screaming like a banshee, you see their front lines puncture. The shield wall incomplete as the horsemen regroup for another attack. Cannonballs and rocket fire showers overhead, puncturing the front lines. No more do they laugh. Now they are angry, and they too charge. Shield up, axe high, speeding headlong. Time to take back your home, for the crimes they have done unto you and those you love. Here they come. Brace yourself, Nordlander!
Place your faith in Sigmar to protect you. Place your trust in your Emperor to lead you. And put your strength in your sword to deliver you from those who would destroy your empire!
It's chaos, the thick of battle choking in a sea of bloody carnage. Victory or death. Another Norskin, blue shield, red hair, bare-chested. Let him come to you. He charges. You sidestep and lacerate the man's belly, his innards spilling out. Suddenly you are shield-bashed by a... Gods, what is that? It's large, hunched, dark-skinned and with one eye. Its head like a malformed reptile. You use your elbows to slide away from it. It lifts its great hammer. You frantically lift up your battered shield. It's shot in the eye by a rifleman behind you. The hands of comrades lift you up and you are pressed back into the melee storm. The Norskins are on the defensive and step back after some heavy fighting. They are forming a shield wall before you. Some wolf-clad berserkers roll out screeching. Riflemen shoot at exposed heads and feet, and pikemen jab where they can.
Hellstorm! Incoming!
The shield wall lies shattered. But still, you and the others falter for a renewed charge, a sea of savage, roaring men in furs or armors, led by a man in a black plate, wielding a serrated great sword, stands confidently before you. Suddenly you are shoved aside by a man in silver steel. Stobart, caked in mud and blood, his helmet gone, revealing a coif around his angry face.
Ah! You's waiting for Mordenlim or something? Get stuck in! With me!
The Chaos Warrior's jugular shatters as Stobart slashes his neck with the tip of his blade, the one exposure of his flesh between his armor and the helmet. He claws at his throat and kneels to the ground. Norskins stagger back and quickly try to reform another wall, but Stobart charges and rolls atop their shields, disappearing into a hurricane of steel.
Go, men, go! Follow your commander!
You put down a berserker with an axe to the back. You shiver in a frenzy of rage and panic. You jolt as a blast of fire from the skies obliterates a squad of Norskins to your left. As the world falls to chaos, you hear elated shouts that the west side of the city has been retaken, and rejoice resounds among your comrades. The Norskins are falling back step by step, and though you are all starved and tired, you all fight with strength and tenacity, stern pertinacity. Everyone surges forward on the offensive like a tidal wave, but you stay your ground. You take a moment in this madness to breathe, to think. The land around you is now just a litter ground of corpses, with only reserves and archers loosely walking 10 paces behind the infantry who press towards the barbican, or scale the walls by Norscan siege equipment. What catches your attention is, to your right, a score of Nordland bowmen are loosing arrows at the top of the barbican and gatehouse.
Keep firing! Keep firing!
You bluntly ask through raggedy breaths who or what they are shooting at, for no one appears to be there. After asking again, one tells you.
Captain's field orders! Their leader and his pet druid are atop that wall. You'll see him soon. Leader's wearing green armor, druids wielding a stick throwing fire at us. There! There he is!
You look up from where they shoot, where, true enough, a robed figure dances atop the wall of the gatehouse, blasting the front lines with a terrifying blast of power, in the form of crushing darkness or blazing fire. The druid makes odd gestures, hefting his staff upwards to cast a spell. The bowmen, and yourself for that matter, begin to fall back as the druid begins another spell, no doubt annoyed of the constant volley of arrows.
Back! Back!
A cannonball strikes the barbican, rock shatters, and knocks the druid from his perch, flying him into the melee below.
Was wondering when the dwarf would start firing proper!
From above the shattered gatehouse, where below the fight is thickest, a lonesome figure in dark, shining armor appears glinting in the light, smooth and oily. He is looking down at the carnage, relaxed.
Stop cheering! Stop! It's him! The leader! Fight's not over, lads! Pace forward! Let's get the traitor! And you! Unless you're gonna pick up a bow, leave off and run back into the fray! You got your job, we got ours.
Back at the front, the Norskins are fighting for their lives, their backs on the walls. They fight with untethered rage. The moment you were pushed into the swarming ranks of your comrades, you were sucked into the storm of swords and screams. And now you are back in the world of pandemonium that reeks of blood, sweat, and urine. Stobart, somehow, is still alive. His armor is battered, his coif gored, his face so caked in muck and blood that if it weren't for his dragon-like roars and insults, you would not have known it was him. He was not as much on the offensive now. Instead, he barked orders, pacing between the lines, stabbing dying, trampled Norskins offhandedly as he did so. A violent push on your back sends you sprawling onto the ground atop a moaning, sickly Norskin who stinks of rot. Even so, you punch him repeatedly in the face until his eyes go slack, and you hear bone crack. You tilt your helm upwards and glance ahead. 5 paces ahead, a Cathayan sellsword is slashed at the chest. He kneels before he is slashed again at the neck. Beside you, a Nordland marine jabs his halberd at the exposed foot of a barbarian, making him growl and drop his shield. Arrows come flying down, punishing the Norskin, as well as other Norskins and Nordlanders alike. Large white wolves leap from above the Norskins and into your lines, hungrily savaging startled men with freakish speed. You scramble upwards and stumble backwards. It's an abattoir! And yet, you hear Stobart yelling how close the city is ours. You feel so weak. Yet now is not the time. An ice wolf savages a man's leg to your right, causing a reaction of battery from yourself and others nearby to kill the beast. You are knocked prone by a heavy force, your shield saving you from the jaws of an ice wolf that snarls behind. You punch the beast instinctively on the snout, but it ignores the blow and leans to bite your face off. Its jaws catch something. It's the rim of your kettle helmet. It yanks it off with its jaws and throws it away before looking down at you with savage blue eyes. A short sword slices through its head, and with a kick, it's shoved up. A swaying figure stands above you. Helga! Her shield, now a Norscan round shield. Her leather armor a torn mess. a horrible gash on her left eye, concealing it in blood. Her hair and face a mess of dried grime, tears, and blood.
Get up! Get up! It's you! Ugh. Suppose this makes us even now. Ugh. This is madness! We can't get through the portcullis. There's too many of them and... There's more giants in the city. Get down!
The gatehouse is destroyed! Move in, you donkeys! Over the walls! Through the breach!
Helga held you close to the ground as the cannon sent heavy debris scattering into the carnage, both of you using your shields to cover above. As footsteps began to trod over you, you both clambered up and found yourself in a crushing melee of grunting, groaning, tired men. Both Norscan and Nordlander. The battle raging on for hours now. Pain aches all over. Your chin on Helga's shoulder, and hers on yours, as you clamber for support. The air is hot with smoke, and your ears deaf to all but battle. And then a horn blasts. A horn blasts? Your horn? The horn of Nordland? A crescendo of cheers wafts across your ranks. Have we won? Have you gone mad? But no. Helga rolls her eyes about, also hearing the noise.
Hark! Hark! The gods are with us! Reinforcements are here! The 2nd Battalion! It's come! And they have ogres with them!
No bleeding wonder they're late! Did they stop for a meal at the moot or what? Over the walls and into the city!
You and Helga look at each other with silly, giddy faces. At last, the battle may end with victory in your hands. The castle will be yours, Nordlander. Both of you were too drunk with hope to realize the gatehouse, now a pile of rubble, had revealed in its place. Giants, now charging towards you. With freakish speed and freakish strength, the foremost giant comes thundering towards you, crushing even other Norskins in its rampage, its club set for an overhead slam. You roll away instinctively, whimpering in terror like a wingless fly about to be swatted. But Helga slips on a corpse, as do a few others. Her arms ache to get back up, and she looks to you for a hand. You crawl towards her to pull her back with you, only 3 paces away. Time slows as your brain tries to register what it had just seen. The giant had struck once, pummeling Helga's legs to mash, before slamming again to splatter her and the other 2 soldiers who'd not run away in time, into nothing more than viscera, where had once been a comrade, a friend, was now a blot, staining a giant's club. It paces forward, toward you. You don't even move. From stark shock, hellstorm rockets shower overhead, blinding the giants, and a cannonball punctures right through the foremost giant's eye, and out the other side. It sways and flops backwards, crushing the scattering Norskins behind it. You lie there, on your side, your mind in a flurry of numbness. You can see the other 2 giants flailing madly as Nordlanders rush into the breach. You look to your left. A Nordland Marine with half a skull missing, still seemingly alive, lying on the ground, gurgling words and staring at you. You twist to your right. A shaking woman. No, a girl, no more than a teenager, in heavy soldier garb, sits in a ditch, swaying back and forth, eyes bloodshot from tears as she grasps the body of her father. The murder, the carnage, the despair and hopelessness. It empties your mind. You don't even hear the warning shouted by someone, somewhere, of cannons incoming. The impact of one lands 4 paces from you, the blast causing a shockwave of mud to fly into your face, knocking you into an instant blackness. You awaken with your limbs in agony and a horrid cold prickling your skin. Your eyes awaken to see a white sky above a familiar landscape, felled mammoths, broken banners, and a sea of dead men. The battle before Dieterschafen, and beyond that, the forests which hid your trench. You try to move, but realize you cannot, and an aching pain surges through your muscles as you look about you. You have been tied to a saltire cross, bound by metal at the wrists and ankles, your clothing and weapons stripped away, nothing but a loin cloth about you, your bruised, shivering skin prey to the northern winds. You look left and right. Running parallel to you are more crosses where Nordlanders have been placed. To your left there is silence, but you jolt to your right as a woman further down the line bursts out screeching in searing agony. Something cruel is being done to her. You swallow hard, and your heart begins racing. You try and force your bonds free, but you are too weak and tired. The screams go on until they wilt into a continual sob. The man to your right begins praying to more, to take his soul now. You are tempted to do the same.
Ulrich, why are they doing this to us? Why?
They did the same in Hagendorf. It's a statement to the Empire. This country is theirs, and this is our place in their world for all to see.
But what? What are they going to do to us?
Carve us. I thought I'd die before I'd find myself on a post. More! Deliver me, oh more!
Oh, more!
The day stretches on as your torturers come closer, cross by cross. Your body convulses into earth-shattering fear and wince with dread as you stare at the battlefield before you, tied up and freezing cold, your skin blotching blue. Is this happening? You were promised victory or death. Not this. Not slow torture, to be a Norskin's plaything. Your mind began counting the moments before it's your turn. Time freezes when the tormentor, a lone figure with a shoddy tree stump in his hands, approached the closest person next to you. And now, it is your turn, Nordlander. The Norskin is a skinny, spindly thing with a long face and large yellow teeth. Middle-aged, pale, and with balding brown hair and serpent-like tattoos on his body. He wears a dirty, tattered dress that must have belonged to a noblewoman, her blood still staining the torso, and her peeled face hangs on a girdle by his waist. At his waist is also a variety of bloodied tools.
Okej, nu ska vi se vad vi har här. En liten mjuk, vacker nordländare. Han vacker. What shall I do to you? Oh, no. Look at me, a bird.
Your tormentor places his hands on your cheeks, forcing your head to look at his grotesque, grinning face. He reeks of the blood and vomit of others, his forearms and hands stained with blood, wet and stale.
You know, I was a tanner, but I always wanted to be an artist. I found Southerner skin is the best canvas to improve my art. You lot also make the best screams. Better than trolls, easier to work on too. what to draw on you. Ah, I know. A serpent, a token of my patron. Yes? Would you like that? Yes, you would. Okay, what shall I use?
You retch a thin stream that dribbles down your naked chest, dread taking control of your entire body. As fear festers in your mind, your torturer is relaxed as he fiddles across his belt to find a stiletto knife, sharp as ice, and a small bone saw. He looks up at you with a nod of understanding.
For your legs, of course. We are in need of new leather. I'm at heart still a tanner, but the Herald allows me to practice my hobby. A gift for France, yes.
He begins working on you, savoring your growing screams. You arch your chest outwards as you shake and writhe about, bound to the pole. He relishes it. He finds it comforting, humming as he carves off bits of your skin, bit by bit, always taking a moment to look at you as your eyes go upwards, and you groan in agony. Time passes beyond you, your arm and upper torso a red, hot mess of exposed skin and muscle. Sometimes he pokes his gnarled finger to incite more searing pain to shoot up you. Your cries for reprieve mingle with his own passions of exhilarations. It's been minutes, and you pray to the heavens to end it. Please! But he dangles more of your own thin flesh before you, speaking in his own tongue as he looks back at you with wide, searching eyes. He stops carving on you mid-torso. Your voice hoarse and hollow, your eyes and head finally drooping down as you gain a brief moment of respite, praying for the end. In the reddened darkness of your vision, you can see your tormentor has turned around to see 3 figures standing several feet behind him. 2 squat, broad-shouldered Norskins in battered steel and mammoth hide, armed with heavy weapons, flank a tall, lean figure in full plate mail, colored a glossy reflective emerald. This figure is opulent, with encrusted jewels and golden trims on his armor. His head is helmeted similarly, and round his neck is an imperial brooch that links a black cloak over his shoulders, and his bastard sword, a golden hilt, an emerald pommel, and a velvet red sheath. He walks slowly, looking up at the dying, maimed, or dead people like an inspector, his hands behind his back as the other 2 Norskins flank him. What's more is there is suddenly a repulsive, repugnant smell that makes you shiver. It's like urine and sweat mingled together, but the overlaying smell itself is something so odd, you cannot put a name to it. You cannot help but wrinkle your nose and nearly retch at the stench. Your tormentor rushes away from you, forgetting you entirely, and jumps off his stool to rush over to the trio, where he prostrates himself before the opulent man. The mockery replaced with devout supplication. Is this the leader of this madness? Your vision sags up at them as your head hangs low, together with the chill of the cold on your naked flesh and skin, and scorching pain. Your mind is unable to process much of the conversation, though you swear you heard Reichspiel from the opulent man. Your eyelids flutter shut, a red darkness taking you second by second. The world is about to close. Until you hear shouts. Something is going on. The men are looking southwards, and the opulent knight turns on his heel, quickly marching back towards the city gates with one of his guards. Your torturer makes a plea of some sort to the other guard, and points emphatically up at you, but the other strikes him hard and drags him quickly with him, catching them up with the other 2. Before your body shuts down, you look one last time at the white sky southwards. You see nothing emerge from the forest miles ahead, but above the trees are large, thin shapes. A sea of them, like a flock of birds, ascending from the horizon. Your eyes shut. Your breathing slows. Your nerves go numb. The last thing you hear is the sound of war horns blowing. It's warm, dark, and dry. Your eyes flicker open. Life comes back. You are alive, Nordlander. The sounds of distant conversation and rolling carts come softly to your ears. Your eyes adjust to a stony room with a roaring fireplace. To either side of you are beds, where men lay slumped with bandages and bedsheets about them. Priestesses of Shalia frequent the room, tending to the wounded, their bright robes to contrast the darkness about. Your torso and arms have been well bandaged, and you yourself lie sandwiched in soft furs atop a wooden bed. Life blinks back, and you sit up. The memories of the battle and its agonizing aftermath make you shudder. A young woman, pale, with black short hair, robes and hooded in white, approaches you. She informs you of your current situation. Luckily the wounds were superficial, and will heal, but you will be bedridden for a few more days until you are completely mobile. After changing your fur sheets, giving you a chamber pot and putting aside a warm oaty stew, she leaves to visit the next newly waking patient. You close your eyes and return to deep sleep. A week or so later, and you are up and about in the retaken city of Dieterschafen. Norscan bodies are placed in burning pyres, supervised by grim men in dark leathers. Military men, fresh from Salzamund, patrol the streets, with the more haunted, sullen warriors from the Coastal Defense Brigade and the gaunt Dieterschafen defenders, who skulk about the city with priests or survivors, who pry them for illness or lingering chaos respectively. There are also elves here. Wood elves from Lorelorn, standing out from the others in the city. Tall, fair in complexion and hair, who walk about with imperial commanders or talk amongst themselves. Their giant eagles soaring above the sky make you flinch, no matter how often you see them. But today, to your surprise, you received a message from one of the priestesses that a familiar name wants to talk with you at your earliest convenience. Sergeant Schmidt had also survived the battle and has requested to speak with you at his camp outside the city, along the coast. Dressed in a simple gambazon, baggy trousers, a cap, and torn boots, all of it concealed by a fur cloak about you, you make your way out the ruined outer city. It is a landfill of bodies out here. Mounds of the dead, mostly Norscan, blot the land like fleshy tumors. You see where you were once tied to. The post's still there. You spit in anger. No sign of the freak. You pray he did not survive. Walking along the coastline of the Sea of Claws is a graveyard of longships and more Norscans that had been shelled to shatters and bits. The horizon on the sea is shrouded in mist. Is that it, you wonder? Have they been defeated for good? Or is this just the beginning of the end of times for man? Imperials scout the beach on foot, whereas elves ride atop elks, scouting for their own injured fellows. A soldier points you to the gaggle of war tents further along. It's not long until after announcing your name and presence to a guard that you are escorted into a large blue square tent. Within, it is dark and warm, lighted only by candlelights atop a single desk littered with scrolls and maps, with 2 chairs on either side of the table. Weaponry and harnesses lay on the carpeted ground, and Schmidt stands up from his chair behind his desk, gesturing you to take it.
Please, warrior. Take a seat. You've more than earned it. How are you feeling now? Understandable, given the brutality we have endured. I can see you are still tired, so I will try to make what I have to say brief. But before that, you should know some things. The great Norscan army is routed. Dieterschafen, Nursemskrank, and Wilhelmskuk have been retaken. Hagendorf is all that remains. They are appointing me as new captain to oversee its capture. I might even be knighted. Yes, Stobart fell. I'll get to that in a moment. Now, you probably already know this, but we won the city. But not the battle. When the 2nd Battalion arrived, the walls were ours. The ballistas were operational. Morale grew. But we had been blind to the ambush that awaited us. The Norskins had summoned reinforcements of their own, blurred by fog, no doubt conjured by their pagan druids. Tens of longships came upon the shore, bringing hundreds of men and monster alike. We didn't stand a chance. Holt and I sounded for a retreat, but Stobart would have none of it. Not when he'd come so close after losing so much. When the commander fell before our eyes in the town square, we sounded the retreat and ran south, just like Hagendorf. And just like Hagendorf, the Northerners didn't give chase. They had won. By the time we found the 3rd Battalion, we survivors and they decided to march southeast and regroup with the main army from Saltenmund. We marched together with power renewed. The Norskins met us on the field, again, and this time they got punished. Man and elf obliterated their lines and streamed through the city and bombarded their ships. It was divine retribution, but at a heavy price. Their leader got away, however, which brings me to you. You, barely, survived the aftermath of the torture dealt unto you. It took a week for you to recover, but I needed you alive. I needed to speak with you. Are you familiar with a man in green armor? Describe all you can to me, if you would. I hear the reports from Norskin prisoners that he reeks a horrid yet unique stench. Can you confirm this? Good. Very good. He is the leader of the Norskin army, and the one who slew Stobart after he and the leader dueled in the square. And rightly so, his Reichsspiel you heard was no imagining. He was once one of us for sure. His accent was ours, his armor looked ours. A Nordlander like you and me, but one who betrayed his emperor, gods and countrymen. Before the battle, Stobart informed me and a few other select men who to watch out for. I thought it was laughable at the time, given the description, but it seems both you and my eyes have corrected me. Make no mistake, I've seen him fight. He is formidable. Alas, I know not why this traitor has gone rogue to destroy everything we love. I was not privy to those details. I do not even know his name. But what I do know is he is never seen without his armor, and he has a horrid stench about him. Yes, very perceptive of you. I am using the present tense. When we won the second battle, he was nowhere to be found. He is still alive, damn him. Out there. Here now. Officially, the Norskin army has been defeated. But unofficially, rumor spreads that this Green Knight does not lick his wounds in Norska, but instead is mustering another army, a greater army. Scouts report of dark vessels from the far west supplying weapons to the coastal tribes. Witch hunters have received confessions from spies of monstrous tribes further up the pole who are flocking to his banner. And even now we are suffering the mumbles of the end times across the north, and our fops for neighbours blame us for it. Excuse me, but I have not brought you here to vent. Outside my tent is a horse and a bag of gold that can get you to wherever you want, really. You were a volunteer after all, and you have done your part, suffered for it. I have no reason to demand of you anything. But you and I, Nordlander, you and I know what evil has been wrought already, and the devastation they will cause when he returns. And he will. He will. The War Council wants me to oversee the retaking of Hagendorf, but I say nay to that. I'm going up there, Nordlander. across the sea and into Norska, and I am going to kill this traitor in his own home before he sends his dogs to pillage and kill once again. I'm tired of our culture, our nation, our very identity being under threat. Tired, I say. Aren't you? Make no mistake, should you accept, this will most likely be a suicide mission, and we may never return to the Empire if we do survive. I already have a Deadeye and an Arsonist who will be joining me on this quest. They are quite colourful beings. Both fought with us under Stobart. Both want this mongrel dead. So far you have shown yourself loyal, brave and resilient. A survivor, a warrior, a Nordlander. You would be welcome to join us, but I will not force your hand. Oh, and I found these. Your helm, axe and shield. You can always replace it with something else over there. But whether you ride with us to Norska, or make your way someplace else, make no mistake, Nordlander, you'll need them.